Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast. And now, stand up and make some noise for your host, Joel Jacob.
What's up, Heat Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joel Jacob, and you can follow me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. As always, I got some guests with me today. First, we got George.
What's good?
Then right after that, Quake.
Yeah, what's up? This is Dr. Quake. The party's going on. Thank God it's Friday.
And then we got Kevin.
What's good, everybody? Glad to be back.
And then right after that, we got two new additions to the Heat vs. the World podcast. First, we got John.
What's good, everyone? Happy to make my first appearance on this pod.
And then last but not least, you got not only a new member of Heat vs. the World, but for Culture Shock, Miss Nina. Say what's up.
What it do, baby?
All right. I love the energy. Love it. So without further ado, let's get started with today's episode. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about this Heat versus Bucks game. So honestly, you know what? I don't even think we should call today's pod Heat versus the World. If anything, it should be the Sky Force versus the World. But that's just me. Because last game, the Miami Heat took the fight to Milwaukee, and they ended up beating them by 9 this past Wednesday, improving their record to 15-11, while currently holding the 4th seed in the East. Leading the way, you have Caleb Martin, who, by the way, is a guy on a two-way contract, in case you forgot, as he had 28 points, 6 3-pointers, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. After that, you have Kyle Lowry with 22 points and 13 assists, Max Strus with 16 points, 4 3-pointers. And also a fun fact, by the way, all 16 of Max Strus's points came in that fourth quarter. And then you got PJ Tucker with 15 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals. And then Casey Okpala, which he probably had one of the best games in his career. He had 10 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks. And then Tyler Hero with 9 points of his own. Considering that we managed to beat the defending champions without 2 of our best players in Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, while still missing Markieff Morris, like, how are you guys feeling about this impressive dub from the Heat? Kick us off, George.
Oh, you know I'm ready. It was, without a doubt, in my 14 years of being a Heat fan, one of the best performances I've ever seen come out of Miami. And just to do it against the Bucks at full strength, by the way, you know, without Brook Lopez or DiVincenzo, was just excellent. Caleb Martin looked like just Jordan. Max Strus looks like a Max player. Hero played terrible. But the fact that we could do that with our best player, our best players out, and with our best player not performing, was just fantastic. Casey Okpala led the team in plus minus at 28. Do you understand what it felt like to watch a player, like, it's like watching a plane crash and burn for about 2 years and finally just finds its way back up. He was defensively brilliant. He was just what we needed at the time. But the player of the game, I'm not giving it to Caleb Martin. I'm not giving it to Strus, Okpala, Lowry. No, I'm not giving it to any of them. PJ Tucker was by far the best player on the floor. Defensively, he was. I've never seen one player shut down three others in one game. He got bashed. He got hit. He got drowned. It doesn't matter what happened to him. He kept coming back. He kept wanting more. He made Giannis look like nothing. One player, and we're missing our three out of our best 4 defenders with Oladipo, Jimmy, and Bam out. This team was extraordinary. It was one of the best watches. If you haven't seen it, go see it again. Go see it. It was perfect.
Right. Like, the game was like, what, 2 days ago? And I'm still like watching the highlights of it, just being beyond impressed. And then, Kevin, what about you?
Yeah, man, this was just a complete team effort. I like pretty much everything that I saw for the most part. I was happy for Caleb Martin because I feel like throughout the course of the season so far, like he'd be hesitant on when to drive and just when to catch and shoot. But, he made some real good decisions in this game. And defensively, George hit on it. Like PJ Tucker was a menace. I thought KZ came in and gave us some really good minutes. I feel like Spo's always been high on his defense, and that's why he's starting to get these rotational minutes, that and some injuries here and there. But everybody's played well. Strus was playing really well. Duncan only had, 2 threes made in this game, but he still left an impact. And Kyle Lowry, man, I keep saying it, like, he fans always get mad at him for, picking and choosing when to be aggressive. But in that second half, he just went on an inferno and literally called us back into the game and just, didn't look back. And the rest of the team just, joined in on his energy and led us to the win. So I was happy, man. This is a real good win over a team that's been playing really well, having their big 3 back, even though they still don't have Brooke Lopez back. That's probably going to be a long time before they do. But they got their main 3 players in Drew, Giannis, and Chris Middleton. And, the Heat held it down at home. So I got to give them a lot of credit for that.
Right. And you, Nina?
For me, it's basically just watching our second string guys just, step up when they needed to. It gives me more confidence when we have injuries that we got those guys that could step in. But I just want them to be consistent. We need these guys to play well for us off the bench all the time. And of course, the big performances, I'm really high on Max. I have been from day one. So it's interesting to see where Spo fits minutes in for him. But it was all around an exciting game, a lot of energy. Every time we play Milwaukee, I worry about, the height, the big players they have. But we played small and it worked out. I'm excited about what we have going on as far as the second unit.
Right. And then you, John?
Yeah, I've just been impressed from of how much the team gets from just undrafted and minimum type players. Outside of Hero, then everyone else is just even late first round. That's Lowry, then or second round picks or undrafted guys. Hero and Duncan combined for 15 points, and then you still beat the Bucks. That just says a lot about the team as a whole. How much they can easily just step up with with one of your top scorers struggling, Butler out, Bam out, and it's just still stepping up as the next man up. Yeah, just an impressive team win.
Right. And then you, Quick?
Yeah, well, it proves that Spoelstra's defensive scheme against Giannis is still elite with or without Bam. Last night, obviously, we didn't have Bam, but he was still able to build the wall with Caleb Martin, PJ Tucker, and Dwayne Dedmon starting. And that limited Giannis to 15 points in 33 minutes. And opening night, as quietly as it was kept, the Heat blew out the Bucks. And obviously, in last year's playoffs, the Heat were swept by Milwaukee, but as quietly as it's kept, Giannis had his least effective playoff series against the Heat last year. So I think what this goes to show is that Milwaukee should not want to face the Heat in the playoffs this season, because the playoffs is obviously a game of matchups. And if you draw the wrong matchup, it doesn't matter how good your regular season record is. You can take an L. So I think that the Bucks should want to draw anybody other than the Heat, be it Brooklyn, Atlanta, any other team in the East aside from Miami. I think Milwaukee can beat easily, but they're not going to have slim pickings against this Heat team.
I agree 100%. And like, quick thing that I want to add is that, Miami went in and they did this, without Jimmy and Bam. So, obviously regular season is different from the playoffs, but, with this Heat team, when they're going to be fully healthy and hopefully that soon, this team is just going to be scary. I mean, there's no other way you can put it. And honestly, I just really hope we see this team get healthy very soon. But we will talk about that eventually. So I won't go into too deep about that. So I know, George, you have something you want to add?
No, I just wanted to put it out there. There are people in Amazon getting paid more than what Caleb Martin's is right now. He is on the most minimal contract, and he put out one of the best performances ever. Like it's a matter of time. Obviously, they have to convert that contract because the depth looks amazing. And another thing is, before and during the game, you saw on Heat Twitter, you saw it. Everyone was crying. Bench Cole Lowry's terrible. Was terrible. Man had 22 and 13. Everyone's saying he had bad performances. Obviously, bad shooting performances, but new system, new this, new that. It's not easy when two of your stars go out, and something that you were promised not to happen, where you're carrying the team, is happening all of a sudden. So it's a time of adjustment. It's a time of changing up things as necessary. And I think it was Quake was saying before, the Bucks don't want to face us. It was very quiet. We did beat them by 42 opening day. They beat us second time. We just beat them with our G League team, and it looked so easy. It's a game of momentum. Last year was a very weird year for everyone. Short and off season, we were heavily injured moving into the playoffs. I remember that last game where Tyler and Jimmy both got injured that game, and they're playing in a couple of days' time. So, I think that if we can get everyone healthy, then it's just gonna make everything easier moving forward.
I agree 100%. I was very impressed. I'm sure you guys were, with the way how the Heat were able to handle business. And, hopefully they continue doing that, because, this schedule, it's not going to get easier for the Heat. They got a ball out every day and night. So before we go on to the next topic, does anyone else have something they want to add? All right, so I'll take the silence as a no. So now for this next topic, I want to talk about our team's health, because the Heat, as we guys know already, they're going to continue the struggle of having to play without Bam Adebayo, while also missing Jimmy as well. Also, before I continue, by the way, there is no word on whether or not Jimmy will be back for this next game against the Bulls while this pod is being recorded. This is just a heads up, just in case news comes out once this episode is posted. Anyways, with this all being said, do you guys have any takeaways regarding how the Heat have played so far, dealing with the unfortunate injuries that have taken place? Tell us, Kevin.
Yeah, no, I mean, with all these injuries, I'm just glad that they're playing competitive basketball. Like, I know it's kind of a given with the Heat, because that's, what they're based their foundation upon. But again, you're missing your best player in Jimmy Butler. You're missing probably your most important player in Bam. And I think they're 2-1 since that. So I can't be mad at that. You know what I'm saying? They just got to keep doing what they're doing. Honestly, Spo clearly hasn't bought in. And, Kyle Lowry's a tone setter, the table setter, whatever you want to call him. And again, they just follow his lead, and that's what point guards do. And, we signed a lot of really good role players for this team to fill out the rest of this roster. I think that's why, like Quake was saying earlier, that Milwaukee really doesn't want to see us in the playoffs, this time of year. But yeah, that's all I can really ask for. I know we're going to preview the Bulls game in a minute, but I can't complain. You know what I'm saying? Injuries have been hitting the entire league, and honestly, COVID has too. So most teams are without some of their most important players. You know what I'm saying? Chicago had a stretch where they didn't have Vucevic. The Nuggets, of course, don't have Jamal Murray, different things like that. So it's all across the league right now. So I'm not complaining, but they just got to keep doing what they're doing, man. That's all it comes down to.
Right. And you, Nina?
Sorry about that. For me, it's just making sure that the energy level stays up when we're missing our two guys. I like that the energy continues to be focused on winning. I'm not happy really how we've been playing. The Milwaukee game kind of gave me some hope, but yeah, I think we can play a lot better when we're missing us, because at the end of the day, we still got Kyle leading the guys. Hero needs to be better when Jimmy is out. So yeah, I like the energy they're playing with, but I do think they can play a lot better when we have injuries like this.
Right. And you, Quick?
Well, to Kevin and Nina's points, I think this is showing the importance of a team having a good culture and a good foundation behind it, because many teams, if they were racked with injuries the way the Heat have been racked with injuries, they would succumb to that pressure and they wouldn't be competitive within games. It would be an early blowout almost every time, but that's not the case with Miami. Regardless of who is who is out, whether it's Jimmy, Bam, or both, this team is able to compete. And even irrespective of whether they win or lose, the game is always, a slugfest for the other team. So it just speaks to, again, having a good culture and a good foundation in place.
Right. And how do you feel, John?
I'm probably with Nina. I wasn't that impressed with how they played so far. There's, I think, two sides that they have all like Gabe, Max, Caleb stepping up. But I wasn't like much impressed with how the actual top players since Jimmy and Bam went out stepped up. Larry had like 9 attempts in one of the games. He only had like 10 points. Hero's been struggling as well. Most of that just came from efforts. There wasn't much effort on defense, boxing out or in transition. It is good to see that they do have like enough help from the role players. But I think with Jimmy and Bam out right now, they need more from Lowry and more from Hero and Duncan. They just need from those three more. And then apart from that, I think that they did a good job keeping afloat.
Right. And what about you, George?
Yeah, there's nothing worse as an NBA fan, as a fan of the team, to watch a player go down. And it's never going to be easy, never going to be something that you want to want to happen to your team, but it's going to happen. It's inevitable. We all deal with it every season. There's teams that's got it far worse than we do, in terms of players being out for the whole season, touch wood. But it helps having that, the depth that was questioned come to light. And it's the best time to do it because there's something about that happening post All-Star break that really doesn't make you feel as good as it happening earlier on the season. And what I mean by that is when it happens earlier on, you get to showcase what you can do in the postseason earlier. Now, we've all been there where we sit there going, oh, this team's not going to. We come off 2-3 really good wins and we think, yeah, this team can challenge, this team can go the way they can do it. And then we go off 3 bad performances and we look like, oh, look, we're getting Paolo Banchero with a second overall pick. It's one of those things you have to take very with a grain of salt. These players will come back. But having guys like Max Strus, Caleb Martin coming up, they're not just role players. They're players trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying to chase the big contract. They're looking at players like Duncan, saying, this kid came from nowhere and now he's on a $90 million contract. That's what they want. They want the bag and they've got something to prove. Caleb Martin was looking for a permanent roster spot. Now he looks like he in the offseason, he's going to want even more money. So it's a good and a bad thing, but it's good for now because these players are on our team and they've got something to prove on our team. Now, once these players come back and they readjust to the rotation, that's the coach's job. And, we were all giving no, I definitely wasn't, but I was seeing all over Twitter, all over social media, people were slandering Coach Spo, saying, the rotation has been that great, the defensive, but you just saw what the man could do. He took a bag of potatoes and some shiny ones in there as well, and he beat the defending champs. And he did it with Casey Okpala, who, by the way, I've been photoshopping in Burger King uniforms for about 3 months now. So keep the momentum going, keep it up, and they'll be fine.
I'm sorry, when you said that thing about photoshopping in the Burger King thing, that's All right. So, but yeah, I agree with you guys 100%. As long as our players are stepping up and, they're playing their best every game, I mean, that's all you could ask for. We never asked for any of this stuff to happen, obviously. But, as you said, George, this is all inevitable. You just got to deal with it. So, we'll see how this Heat team continues to play as they deal with, not having Bam and maybe not having Jimmy. And I'm pretty sure news is out that Markieff will be out for this upcoming game as well. So there's that. And before I continue, does anyone else want to add on or? All right, I'll take that silence as a nope. So I now want to dive into this next topic. And the reason why is because there's this interesting debate that has been stirring recently among Heat fans. And the reason why for this is because let's go back to this Bucks game. As Miami was getting ready to close this game out, Miami had one player out, but one game in. Okay. They had a guy who, as we know, as probably one of the best 3-point shooters in this team, and Duncan Robinson on the bench, while putting Max Strus on the floor, which was very interesting to see. And as we mentioned earlier, Max Strus did end up having a great game when he dropped all 16 of his points in that fourth quarter. But once this game came to an end, the question came out and the debate started to fly. And it's who should be in that starting lineup. Should it be Max Strus or should it be Duncan Robinson? So I want to ask you guys, are you on Team Dunk or Team Strus? Tell us what side you're on, quick.
Well, there's no chance that Duncan Robinson comes off the bench, and I'll give you 90 million reasons why that is. But aside from that, I wouldn't say so much that I'm Team Duncan. I would say that I believe Duncan should remain in the starting lineup simply for the fact that he has, a reputation of doing this longer. Obviously, I think it's only a matter of time before his shooting rounds back into form. Like,
right.
Like this slump is something that I don't think anybody could have expected. I don't think it's something where we can say that we expect him to shoot like this by the All-Star break or, in February, March, April. I think that if he's as great a shooter as he displayed last season, it's something that has to round back into form. That's just the way I see it.
Right. And you, John?
Yeah, I'm on Team Duncan all the way. We got 2 years of Duncan being Duncan, shooting like a top 3 shooter, and that deserves that respect. Like, every shooter goes through slumps, and I'm not going to take a 20-game-ish sample over the long term that he's cooked or that he can't shoot anymore. In the short term, I still think he needs to start just to keep the rotations going. I see a problem with the decreased minutes and not playing the fourth quarters. But his numbers will start to go up. It's only a matter of time. And the team still respect Duncan as a shooter. We only seen Strus in his role. We don't know what Strus is going to be like if he plays big minutes in the starting lineup. We only know Strus is good for his role, and I think that should just remain the same. I wouldn't want to just insert Max Strus in the lineup, then he starts playing bad, then the fan base is going to turn on him, and then we just have no shooters at all.
Right. And then Kevin, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm gonna just say I'm Team Duncan, but Duncan needs to stay in the starting lineup. First of all, like his gravity, I don't even like using that term, but it is true. Like he attracts a lot of attention. I just think this slump is just nothing more than a slump. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen all the greatest shooters go through the same exact thing, whether it's Steph, Ray Allen, like you name it, any of these shooters that you can think of this past, generation, they've all had slumps. It just happens. It's part of the game. He's going to get out of it. The team trusts him too. He's still going to take the same amount of shots. Like it's been unfortunate, but he has hit some, timely shots throughout the course of the past few games. So I expect him to get back on track and Duncan will be fine. But when it comes to Max Strus, I just think that right now he's able to do more just because he's shown that not only can he knock down shots, but he's super athletic, so he can, finish around the rim. But honestly, I think like Duncan can kind of do the same thing. Not necessarily saying that he's a high level finisher at the rim, but like I think he can do more than what he's kind of limited to. Not even limited, but just he's so elite at shooting from deep that's he's mastered that damn near. So I just think I would like to see him sometimes, like when he's not shooting the ball well, I'd like to see him take a one dribble pull up mid range. I know it's not a highly whatever percentage shot to the stat nerds out there, but it's still a good shot regardless. You know what I'm saying? Like take easier shots so you can see the ball go to the net. Because once you see the ball go to the net, then everything starts opening up for you, especially as a sharpshooter. Like most sharpshooters out there listening know that feeling. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not too worried about Duncan. I think he'll come around, but Max Strus, I love everything about Max Strus, man. He does a little bit of everything, whether it's defending on ball. He's pretty good on help side. He's good at recovering on defense. Obviously, he's shown that he can knock down shots, and he's just good. I think he showed a lot of good throughout every single minute that he's played for the most part. Like I remember last year when he kind of came onto the scene as a role player for this team, a rotational player for this team was in Houston, and we were kind of struggling at that time, but he had a big time game versus the Rockets, even though they was going through a lot of drama. But I like both of them, man. I just think, Duncan's clearly the starter. He should never lose that spot. I know it's been people saying that even Tyler Hero should take his spot, starting, but nah, Duncan is exactly where he needs to be. And I promise y'all he will get out of this slump, sooner rather than later.
Right. And how do you feel, George?
See, I'm conflicted in this. At the start of the season, I understand the assignment. I understand the stance of the Heat. Obviously, what Quake was saying before, there's 90 million reasons why Duncan should be starting. And I'm not against that. I'm not saying it's not a good thing. It's not going to not happen. But there has to be a time where we have to sit down and genuinely look at this and say, okay, this is it's a situation that we're not familiar with because we've just paid this player a whole bunch of money and he's having inconsistent performances. There's been times it's been really good, and I feel like he's just trying to define his role now because before he was the underdog, he was where Max Strus is now. The player with very little to prove, very little on the line, because for him, he didn't have the pressure of that massive contract weighing him down. And that with the new ball as well, how I'm not helping his shooting. It's very difficult. It's very, time consuming to try and figure out what he needs to do to take that step forward. But I think he'll be fine. I think I have to God he'll be fine. But I don't see a problem with him starting, but there's going to have to be a point of time we have to have the conversation. If this keeps happening, it might just be a trailer. Last game might just be a trailer for what's to come, the main movie in the playoffs, because we don't want to see Duncan shoot like that in the playoffs. And I sure as hell know that that Spo's not going to want to see that either. And I'm not saying that Caleb Martin or Strus will take his spot, but if we get to the end of the season and Duncan's having 9.2 points a game off 33% or 34% from three or 32% from three, and Tyler's coming off the bench giving us 20, 26, 25 with on really good efficiency, I don't think that Spo's going to want to play him. I think he'll start him, but those minutes will go elsewhere to the Caleb Martins and the Max Struses of the team. But we just don't want to damage like Duncan's confidence to a point where he just doesn't want to play like that anymore. Now, we just have to make it like a clean Band-Aid rip. You're just not playing good at the moment. We're going to figure out another way to utilize you, sort of thing. We just don't want to hurt him in a way that it comes back to bite us in the ass with that massive contract.
Right. And how do you feel, Nina?
All right, so I'm gonna shake things up a little bit. I think Max should start, and let me tell you why. I think that with Duncan has showed us his inconsistencies for a couple of years now, and I think that Duncan's shooting is good, but it doesn't make up for his defense lapse. And I think he's gotten a lot better this year. Don't get me wrong, but Max is athletic, shooting, driving. He's a good defender to me. He showed and no, it was summer league, but he had big minutes and he played well. So big minutes from Max, I think we would see a lot out of him. And like I said, I just think he's so much athletic. He has more to give. Duncan shoots. Okay, that's it. He fouls all the time. That's it. So I think that would be a good change for us. I think he would have to just embrace his role off the bench, kind of like how Tyler has done. And I think that'll be good shooting off the bench. But I personally think that we should put Max in that spot. And that's just my opinion.
Right. And I know, John, you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I'm just looking up quick some stats on your 2 points. People say Strus does more things than just shoot threes, but he's got the same amount of volume from twos as Duncan. He's not doing much more from that than Duncan. And when you said that his shooting doesn't negate his defensive liability, is that his shooting from this season or just his shooting overall? Because if it was from his shooting last year and shooting the year before, I think being a top 3 shooter like he was last year, that negates any defensive liability because he was that historic from deep.
Yeah, I think you're right about his shooting the last couple of years, but I mean, I'd rather have a player. You got a player that can shoot, right? But then you get an athletic guard that he has to guard, and it's just they kill us. And it's just see, we see what Monk did to us the last couple of years, and that's mainly because they're being guarded by Tyler or Duncan. He's been guarded by Tyler or Duncan, but I'm really impressed with Max's defense, and I don't think obviously the last couple of years I don't think Duncan's been shooting all that well to where we can't say that his defensive fouls are positive for us. It's just negative all the way around.
Right. And I know, Quake, you want to add something?
Yeah, just to address both your points, I think everybody in this pod acknowledges that Strus is the more complete player as opposed to merely just being a sharpshooter. Strus can do some stuff off the bounce, but I think the hang-up is if you bring Duncan off the bench, is he going to be any more effective off the bench as opposed to him remaining in the starting lineup? Is who's going to be creating for him off the bench is the question. I guess you could stagger like Kyle and Bam's minutes so that one of them is on the floor with Duncan at all times, but that's just a big question that has to be answered. Should he be taken out of the starting lineup?
Right. And you, Kevin?
Yeah, Quake pretty much just hit on exactly what I want to say. Like, if you put him on the bench, like the production is still the same, then what's the point? You know what I'm saying? Rather than being a starter, like you're playing next to Jimmy Butler, when healthy, of course, and Kyle Lowry, like they're gonna get you the best possible shots. And I think Jimmy probably has the best, camaraderie and chemistry with Duncan, on anybody on the team. You can make the argument, with Bam's dribble handoffs, but I think Jimmy is one of the best on the team and when it comes to finding Duncan. And so like I also think you have to value bench scoring. Like I don't think a lot of people value bench scoring. Like to know you have that immediate spark, whether it's Tyler Hero, Caleb Martin, Markieff Morris, whoever it is, most nights, of course, it's going to be Tyler, who looks like he's probably going to end up winning Sixth Man of the Year. But that spark plug off the bench is super important. You always need that scoring off the bench, that guaranteed scoring. Like not a lot of teams have that, you know what I'm saying? And that's essential. And I think, Tyler's embracing, like you said, and that's perfect. But I don't know. I just don't think bringing Duncan off the bench is the solution. I just think, especially because if the issue right now is in his head, the last thing you want to do is bring off the bench and just lower his confidence. You know what I'm saying? Especially, getting paid as much money as he's got or he's going to get. Like, you don't want to shatter his confidence any more than it, could possibly. I don't know if it is a confidence issue right now or if it's just a new ball. Whatever the case is, like, I just don't see bringing him off the bench, being any better than where he's at currently. So I just think you got to keep starting him, man. Duncan's too important to this team. A lot of the offense, goes through him, and he'll be fine. Like I'm positive of that.
Right, and like for me personally, I see the argument for why Nina, you and others would want to start. Where do I stand? I personally, I guess I'd lean towards Duncan, and it's close for me. But, it's because as Quake mentioned, there's like 90 million reasons for why to start him. And most importantly, like what comes to mind for me is what you said, Kevin. You know, you don't want to mess up the confidence because right now it's like D-Rob is already in his head right now. Like we've been, talking about this for a while about, how Duncan has just been having so much on his mind and we don't know what it is. And with that being said, it's like, do you want to mess it, like have him go deeper into his head by potentially taking him out of that starting lineup and, causing him to maybe struggle even more? So I don't know. For me, I just lean towards Duncan specifically because of those reasons. For you guys, as you guys stated, your reasons for wanting Duncan to start. But like for me personally, those are the two things that stand out the most. So it will be interesting. I know that Spo will make the best decision for the lineup, so I'm gonna leave that up to him. There's a reason why we just potting and not on the team letting Spo know what's up. So yeah. Anyways, so we covered so much on today's episode, but now it's only right that we do another segment of the Spotlight Heat Player of the Week. To those who are new, this segment is to allow our pod members to give a shout out to a specific Heat player that has not been talked about enough. So without further delay, tell us who your Spotlight Heat Player of the Week is, George.
I wish we could have the audio of us doing the dog barking that we did the other day, a few weeks ago on the pod, because it'd be perfect for my player of the week. It's PJ Tucker. I know Caleb Martin had his career performance and he was amazing and helped us lift. But what he does, and I said this at the start of the pod, what he does is the most unrecreatable thing that you can find in the NBA. He walks around like no one has ever heard his name, like he's a minimum player contract, that he's never had a big contract in his life. He wakes up like he's got a 1-bedroom apartment with no windows. He is the most down to the ground, hard in first player I've seen in a long time. Now, if we could get Bam, PJ's aggressiveness, I think what we should do is kick Bam out of the whatever beautiful place he's living now and put him where PJ was living. He would be the best player in the NBA, full stop. But yeah, PJ, what he does is defensive, hard nose, awesome play. Now, the other day when we won, it would have been fine to have all the players, Strus, Lowry, Caleb Martin, just dominate on the offensive end, but defensively, he made Chris Middleton and Giannis look like they were rookies all over again, and not in a good way. It was phenomenal. We need that every game, and I'm so happy we stole him from the Bucks. And the Bucks fans go, "Oh, we've got the new, we don't need him anymore. Bobby Portis is all we need." Blah blah blah. You can't recreate what PJ does for your team. Every team needs a PJ, but there's only one, and we got him.
Right, and then how about you, Nina?
No doubt, PJ. Energy, leadership, aggressiveness. Just to look at his face sometimes, I'm just like, it gets me hype, So, I mean, it's just not this week, these last couple of games. He's been doing this all season. And his energy is just what we needed. He's a total Heat player, like, period. And I lightweight hope he retires there. I really enjoy watching him play.
Right, and you, Quick?
Yeah, so I'm going to cheat a little bit and pick two players. So Charlotte, they were doing a double take after the Bucks game, spinning their heads around. We waved the wrong twin, this and that, because Caleb Martin, he looks like the twin that they should have kept on their team. 26 points against the Bucks, 6 threes. It was a performance that obviously none of us expected, and I think it's a testament to the work he's put in to be able to stay in the league and contribute at a high level. And then my second player I'm in agreement, is PJ Tucker. He's impressed me on the offensive end more so than the defensive end, with that floater that he added to his game. His corner 3-point shot is obviously money. And I had a tweet about him early in the season that I think I need to get packed up for. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. But yeah, I think Heat Nation needs to pack me up for that. I was wrong about his offense.
I mean, a lot of people were skeptical about the PJ signing, like I know there's a certain group chat out there that will go nameless that I think had a whole riot about signing PJ. So, I mean, it just goes to show, how much people he proved wrong since coming here. And I always knew he was such an underrated pickup for us because, he was such a pivotal part of that Bucks championship team last year. So when Miami got him, I guess, now we're just beginning, at least those who were sleeping on this signing, they're now beginning to realize how much of an impact he truly is on this Heat team. And you just love to see it, especially the way how he encourages these young players. Like watching him talk to KZ and, mentor him during this Bucks game. I just love seeing it. And as we know, KZ had probably one of the best games of his career against Milwaukee. So it was just such a great sight to see. And Kevin, how about you though?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Caleb Martin, man. I think it's just hard to pass on what he did. He's playing an excellent brand of basketball, hitting big time threes, catch and shoot off the bounce, late shot clock situations. And he just gave us a kind of new energy, kind of revival. It can be demoralizing when you lose some of your best players in your team. And to get a guy like that to step up is just super vital. And I think it was George saying earlier, it's very, what am I looking for? It's very complicated when it comes to, losing guys like that. And so Caleb was just big, man. That's all it comes down to. He had some big time plays. He made some big defensive plays too. And I just like what he did. Honestly, I was very happy for him. And not a lot of teams have role players like that can, step them into that situation, especially against a team, that's as good as the Bucks. So for me, it's Caleb Martin.
Right. And then, you know what? Seeing all these players that you guys have brought up right now, I personally don't know who to pick because PJ Tucker, I already talked about him and how much of an impact he's had on this team. Caleb Martin, it's just such a great story. And as you mentioned, Quake, it looks like the Hornets probably got the wrong twin off the team. So there's just so much great options. And it just shows how special this Heat team is. And I really can't wait to see what else some of these players have to offer. So unfortunately, I probably might go undecided for this one. I'll probably hopefully next week I'll have a more definitive answer. But, you can't go wrong with any of those picks you guys just made. So now let's go into this upcoming game for the Heat. So just in case you guys didn't know already, the Heat will be playing against the Bulls. Just in case you guys forgot, Miami did beat Chicago in their first meeting. Gabe Vincent had 20 points, and that alone should say a lot about the game. And this game will be different because not only does Miami have their own problems, but Chicago has their own type of situation going on as well. To those who didn't hear, DeMar DeRozan, Derrick Jones Jr., Alex Caruso, and Max Thomas are among the many players who are out for Chicago as a result of COVID protocols. So with this in mind, and considering how the Heat's last meeting with the Bulls went, what is your expectations for this upcoming game? And do you guys think the Heat get another victory? Kick us off, Nina.
I'm a little scared. They got players out, and it seems like when teams are depleted, we play the worst. And so I'm not confident in this game at all. But we are missing people too. So I'm hoping we bring some energy. But at the same time, I'm a little scared. Like I said, we're playing a depleted team, and that seems like we lose all those games.
Right. And then how about you, John?
I don't know how to feel because of course they have the issues with COVID and stuff. I think this going to be a game on effort. It's going to be a scrappy game. I don't see it be like a high scoring game or have big standout performances. I think it's just going to come down to effort, defense. It may be like a 1 or 2 possession game, But I'm confident in our guys stepping up again.
Right. And then also, I forgot to ask you this, but who is your Heat player of the week, by the way?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go different and say Kyle Lowry. With Jimmy going out, Bam going out, the Heat needed someone else to just step up on the offensive game. He's averaged like almost 10 assists in this week. Also giving you like 20 points as well. One other thing I just noticed he's been doing more with the injuries. He's been driving to the rim more, and with Jimmy out, they needed someone to put that rim pressure. I think, and that rim pressure by Lowry just opens up more kick drive and kicks, gets more guys involved. I think he done a good job at getting others involved at easy buckets.
Right. And also, by the way, before we continue, if you are watching this pod on the 5 Reasons Sports Network YouTube channel, you can also comment your predictions for the Heat Bulls game while also giving your Spotlight Heat Player of the Week. So make sure to comment down below. Anyway, so to keep going, Quake, how about you? What's your prediction for tonight's, well, not tonight's game, but this upcoming game?
Yeah, I have the Heat winning the game. I think the key is going to be putting pressure on the rim because the Bulls, even when healthy, rim protection is their weakness as a team. So I think that's going to be the key. Obviously, not turning the ball over either because Lonzo Ball is very good at playing the passing lanes and whatnot. So Lowry, Hero, our guards really just need to put pressure on the rim and collapse the defense, kick out to shooters, and pass off to the bigs when needed. So,
right. And you, Kevin?
Yeah, I also have the Heat winning this game. I think, without DeMar DeRozan, that's a big piece of the Bulls' offense missing. Without Alex Caruso, that's a big piece of their defense missing. So I just think when you add those two things together, of course, we're still not going to have Jimmy, Bam, or Markieff, but Kyle Lowry, I just think another dude that can just lead us to this W. I think Tyler Hero is going to kind of get back on track. He started off the season very hot, just clearly, getting out in front of everybody when it comes to the Sixth Man of the Year award. And I think the biggest thing, honestly, is probably to me going to be trying to contain Vucevic. Like, he hasn't played great this year at all. He's actually been really, really bad. But I just think on any given day, he's going to pop off just because, that's what he does in the regular season at least. So I just think, especially with Bam not being there, that's a big piece of our defense, because when the guards, gets that screen, usually they're trying to hunt a mismatch. But when you see Bam Adebayo there, that's not no mismatch. You know what I'm saying? That's a 6'9", 6'10" dude that can legitimately guard 1 through 5. So I'm not too worried about the Heat in this game. I actually have a lot of confidence in us to get this, but we're going to need, not necessarily, the last time we played him, Gabe Vincent went off. We don't need a Caleb Martin, show what he did, this past week against the Bucks. We just need a collection of different dudes to just step up a little bit and have somewhere between like 10 to 13 points, whether it's Max Strus, KZ, which is probably not going to happen, but it could happen. PJ Tucker, a couple of dudes just need to step up. And I think we'll be straight. And if Kyle Lowry can just keep turning up in the second half like he has been for the most part, then I think we win this game.
I agree 100%. And let's see, George, how about you?
Look, there's no way ever again I'm going to make a prediction on this, because the last time we did this, so the second last time we did this was the night before the Boston game. And if I can quote my good friend Clippy, she goes, "Oh, we're going to sweep them bums." Now, and then we watched the game all together, and I don't think I've been more depressed in my entire life watching us. That was the worst offensive performance I've seen from us in a long time. But I hope we can get it done. Now, what I am very worried about is the fact that we're sitting there in a building that's riddled with I don't know if we can say it, with the CVN-19, but I don't want to see what happened with us with the Wizards last year happen all over again. That was hell, because I don't want to sit there going, we won the game. Oh, that's all fun. The next day, Caleb Martin test positive. Oh shit, and then it's like It's like flies dropping. One more. Oh, one more. He's got a 2. Oh, they're all out. And we're playing Michael Potter. And then we've actually got the real Sioux Falls Skyforce team out there. But, touch wood, that never doesn't happen. They've got a lot of players out. We've got players out. They've still got Zach. But after seeing what we did to Milwaukee at full strength, by the way, besides DiVincenzo and Fatty Brook Lopez, I don't care about him. It shouldn't be anything different than go out, prove what you can do, prove that you belong on this team, prove that you belong in the culture. Hopefully PJ has extra nails in his cereal in the morning, and gets even more mean, because we need that. Because it's going to be a very tough game, very tough game. They're looking to get as many wins as possible, so are we. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be high pace. It's going to be exciting. We're going to see so many amazing plays from Caleb. But no, I think Tyler Hero goes off. I think Duncan has a very good game because Caruso's out. But yeah, I say that it should be a good game, and I'll leave it at that. I ain't putting a prediction out there. You can't make me.
Nah, I respect that. I respect that. But for me personally, I'm gonna go with the Heat simply because I feel like the Bulls are going through a lot more than the Heat right now regarding losses. Like I said, we don't know if Jimmy Butler is coming back. That would be huge if he did. But just in case if he doesn't, I think this team will bowl out, and I think it's good that this game will be at home, and we've had 2 days of rest as well. So I think this Heat team will be refreshed and they'll be ready to go. And yeah, I mean, that's all we could ask for. So, just take care of business, just wait for Jimmy to come back. And then although, it's not going to be until next month or whatever, just wait for Bam to return and wait for the other guys to come back as well, and Markieff and Victor. And then let's see what this team can do and fully healthy. So I feel like we covered a lot in this episode. Is there anything else you guys feel like we should hit on, or are we ready to call it a day?
I just wanted to ask quickly, is there any news on Jimmy? Because 7 a.m. here, I didn't actually get to look at anything.
As this episode is being recorded, no, there is no update just yet.
Yeah. So it shouldn't be I'm not banking on it. I think that after you re-aggravate an injury, you got to take double the time off, and I'm a big believer in that. So he missed 2 games. I expect him to miss anywhere between 4 to 6. So, regardless of who's out, we should be fine.
Right, I agree 100%. So, anything else we should hit on, or? All right, I'll take the silence as a no. So, because of that, thank you all for tuning in to today's episode of the Heat versus the World podcast. To check out more content from us, feel free to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at HVTW Podcast. You can also check out our website at hvtwpodcast.wordpress.com. And also make sure to check out our new extension show, Culture Shock, which is the first Miami Heat podcast to feature an all-female cast, which will be featuring none other than Nina as a correspondent. And you can follow them on Twitter too at CLTR Shock Pod. So anyways, thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode, and we'll see you guys soon with another new episode. We out.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat versus the World podcast.